Hey everybody, it's Bust with Battles with Bust number 63. Today we are going to be playing some Teemo Tristana, but first, the new cards are starting to be spoiled. The new cards will be upon us here in about a week and a half, and so I wanted to give my hot takes on the champions as they are released. And so we're a little behind in terms of Jhin. I'm going to assume that you've already seen him at this point. It was spoiled 2 or 3 days ago, but I have three things in general with Jhin that I wanted to talk about. And so first is the origin ability itself. So you can see up at the top right there is the Virtuoso effect. This happens just as a kind of blanket effect by having Jhin in your deck. And then you get access to the Virtuoso ability the whole game. And so there's two pieces to it. We're going to circle back to that first paragraph talking about the Lotus Trap. And first, we're going to talk about the second ability here, the actual thing that lets you put cards into your deck with a factionless champion. And so with Jhin, his second thing on the Virtuoso is you may put any follower that has a skill into your deck during deck building. And so with Jhin having all of this text about stuns, this will let you say build a deck with Jhin and Yasuo being an Ionian champion, but you can also include the stun spider from Noxus, and you can include the stun bird from Targon, and so that is in effect giving us a 3-faction deck now. So you should be able to include all of the factions into your deck as long as you are either in the faction of your other champion or in the case of Jhin, the followers that you're including in your deck have skill abilities. That's the little circle abilities. You play the card, it puts the little circle on the middle of the map when you play it. And so the thing number one to kind of like circle back here is I'm ultimately this is the kind of thing that worries me a little bit. I'm not super doom and gloom about this. I have a lot of faith in Riot to come in and balance things as appropriate. But this is where we saw a lot of problems in Magic. First and foremost, if you're not familiar with Magic, there was a really painful era of the game with the card Stoneforge Mystic. Stoneforge Mystic, it was basically a 2-mana unit. You play the unit, you get to search your deck for an equipment, and then it has the ability that lets you put that equipment onto the field for cheap. And so when it was initially released, not a big deal. Eventually, a card called Sword or Feast and Famine was released. That was put into the Cawblade deck, which was abysmal for everyone. And then after that, Batterskull was released, and the Batterskull plus Stoneforge Mystic made its way into Vintage. And so, for standard-based cards to make their way into Legacy and into Vintage, really, really speaks to their power level. And Wizards then ran into the problem in the future that if they wanted to print a new equipment, they then had to compare it to Stoneforge Mystic and say, hey, is this just going to be fucking ridiculous for the remainder of time? Is this going to break all of the old formats again? Do we need to tune this equipment down, knowing that Stoneforge Mystic's running around in all of the legacy formats? And eventually they just banned it, right? They banned it in Modern. It still runs around in Legacy, I do believe. But the long story short is they then had to balance the remainder of the game around a single card. And Jhin may not be the problem, but you can kind of extrapolate on that and see where this could be a problem, right? If we're including these skill-based units from 5 or 6 different factions, that kind of opens up the game to where cards that weren't meant to interact with each other now get to interact with each other. And so it would be like really unfortunate if one of these origin champions gets released and then that affects the design of the cards, the development of the cards, and then the play patterns of the cards, all having to be modeled around Jhin. Because this ability exists. And so I'm not like super worried about it. I've ultimately got a lot of faith in Riot. They've shown, I'm trying to think of the word, willingness, I should say. They have an extreme willingness to go out there and just balance things, once a month. And so I don't think if something turns out to be a problem, it'll be a problem for too long. I just, in the back of my head, hope that these origin abilities don't generate a scenario for the designers that they have to be like, well, our boy Jin's a thing, and it's going to fuck up everything if we print this card. And so it's really unfortunate that could potentially be a thing. Or as Annie's released, or Bard, or whoever the other spoiled ones are, if they have some kind of ability that plays poorly into that. And so again, I'm not doom and gloom. I'm still really high on Riot and their design work and their ability to balance everything. It's just like being a boomer magician. I've got some I've got some things stuck in the back of my head. This is the same kind of deal with like birthing pod, right? You could say. Birthing Pod was getting kind of ridiculous in Modern just because of the expansive collection of cards. You could do things like Birthing Pod into Pestermite into the Pestermite untaps the pod, and then you pod away the Pestermite for Restoration Angel. The Restoration Angel comes into play. I forget how you untap the pod again, but then you get Kiki Jiki, and then the Kiki Jiki just goes full combo and infinite kills your opponent. And so that was the kind of thing as to where Wizards was like, fuck this. We're not balancing every comes into play ability for the remainder of time. Maybe we did it with Stoneforge Mystic, not doing it with this dum-dum. And so they just eventually banned it. But, that's the kind of like things you can see with this. Who knows how widespread these formats are going to be. Riot hasn't really said if they're going to, do a standard and a vintage or a standard and a wild, whatever we call things these days. And so it's tough to tell if, a card printed 4 years from now is going to interact poorly with a card from Foundations, and how is that interaction going to happen? And so we'll see. I'm curious to see how it goes, but I think we're still pretty positive here. Okay, so thing number 2 is the kind of champion pairing. So what you would see with Jhin himself. Of course, everyone reads this and goes, "Ooh, I want to play this with Yasuo." And Jay Sensational can teach us how to Yasuo as much as he wants, but I'm not seeing it. I don't think this is the answer all the Yasuo lovers have been looking for. And my kind of thing with this is twofold, right? On the one side of these big like stun build around things. The thing with stuns is the card has to be kind of evaluated 2 ways. You need to say, A, is this card good enough to play on its own? And a lot of them are, right? Stunbird's fine, Arachnoid Sentry's fine, Concussive Palm is fine, things like Thorn of the Rose are fine, things like Guile, Steel Tempest, not so fine. And so we do see a lot of these, stun-based cards making their way into Constructed, but does the big cohesive strategy really warrant their inclusion? Like we just did a bunch of stunning in the seasonals tournament, but that was mainly with the idea of, hey, let's just stun Pantheon, and it wasn't like, okay, this is what my deck does. And so I currently just don't think the stun cards are good enough, and I kind of have this like gameplay problem of, we've just stunned the unit, it's out of combat now. Do I really care about dealing damage to it? And to me, probably not. I'm not super interested in that. You can piece this together however you want with like Jhin and Yasuo, Jhin and Leona. You can say, let's play Jhin with Kennen. Maybe we want to play Jhin with Swain. I'm sure these are all decks that we will try and attempt to pursue. But I'm not that interested in it. And so in terms of deck building, the thing that I'm immediately kind of drawn to with Jhin is that birthing pod scenario that we were just talking about. And the kind of equivalent of that in the current format would be concurrent timelines. And so the concurrent timelines Nar Trundle deck did have a pretty good run. I'm not sure what happened to it here recently. I never really played it because it was kind of too control decky to my liking. I don't think the minor nerfs to Gnar and Conchologist were really enough to kind of ace the deck, but that is what mainly interests me with Jhin, is maybe we can assemble something with Jhin. You can't do it with Trundle, right? Because the concurrent timelines is not a Freylord card. But the same kind of idea seems pretty good. If we're playing all of these skill units, the skill units with the concurrent timelines is pretty strong. And so that's something I'd like to take a peek at, take a look at, see how it goes. You do lose out on that ability you get the 8 cost thing, right? And if you want to concurrent timelines away the 8 cost Trundle Iceberg, you can't do that anymore. But I think there's still a lot of interesting potential there, playing all of the skill units along with concurrent timelines. And so, on to the next thing. Thing number 3 is what I'm more interested in with Jhin, and that is the Lotus Trap. That is the second half of the Virtuoso. I guess the first half, it's at the top of the card. But this is the thing to where if you play 3 fast spells, 3 slow spells, 3 skills, while you behold Jhin, that means that while Jhin is in your hand or on the board, you get to play Lotus Trap, and then Lotus Trap deals 1 damage to the Nexus, and then if Jhin is in play, you get to stun the weakest enemy. And I think this is ultimately pretty interesting in a couple of reasons. The first one is like, what if we just don't plan on playing Jhin, right? If we say, what if we just have Jhin sit in our hand? This is a game to where we never have too much trouble getting enough value. It is not absurd whatsoever to think that you can't just have a strategy that involves having a card in your hand and never playing it, and then just using that to get in like 3 or 4 points of damage. I think that is ultimately, kind of interesting. And then that, burn to the face strategy then kind of like pieces out until it's like, well, if we're just doing burn, let's do burn, right? And so like having Jhin on the board with these abilities and these stuns and stun spiders and stuff, I could definitely see some kind of like aggressive decimating kind of number working with Jhin. And that's what I'm kind of interested in. So there's like, kind of like a 2-piece problem there. It does work out quite nicely with aggro decks. If you're trying to punch through the last of your damage, it is nice to stun off your opponent's units, and then also just getting the damage to go directly to face is pretty good. Now, the problem with that would be like, how much damage can you really chain out of this? Like if you're having all of your cards do these abilities, you can't just be playing stuff on curve, right? You can't say like, okay, I played a 1-drop, 2-drop, a 3-drop, deal a damage, a 4, a 5, a 6, and deal a damage. That's just not enough. You really need to be playing like 3 and 4 and 5 1-drops across the whole board, or mixing in some 2s and really dropping down the curve to punch all that off. Again, that cycles back into kind of an interestingness with a aggro strategy, but that's the thing that at least interests me. Everyone knows I love a good aggro deck, and so just kind of like postulating these aggro shenanigans seems kind of interesting. I would much rather play a Decimate than a Concurrent Timelines any day of the week, but that's what I immediately get to thinking about when I see the Lotus Trap ability here. Also kind of like compare it to, say we're looking at the Elise Burn deck, to where you're just playing one champion anyways. Maybe there's something there in terms of just having like an aggro champion like Draven and Jhin to go along with him to fit in all of the units that you want. And so interesting stuff. So good champion. We'll see what happens. So again, to give the quick recap, a little bit worried about the origin abilities, but have full faith in Riot to handle it. Not so big on Jhin's stun abilities. Have fun playing Yasuo. Don't really see it. And we can't wait to get this Lotus Trap into an aggro deck. And so that is it for Jhin. With that being that, let's go ahead and jump on into Teemo Tristana. Okay, and so here we go with the Teemo Tristana, and so this was an interesting discovery, right? This has it's turned up on the ladder in the past week or so, and then the thing that ultimately had me worried with this was getting ready for seasonals. I believe it was P-Tuck that won the most recent Mastering Runeterra Open with this. He was playing a list of, or I should say a lineup of Teemo Tristana with the Faeries. He was playing the Aphelios Fizz Faeries deck, and then along with Scouts. And I was ultimately pretty worried seeing that win the event. And then it just completely annihilated our lineup. We had like a 0% chance of ever beating a lineup like that. And as people, don't know what to play in these events, they just pull up the webpage and see what won the tournament and was like, oh, cool, I'm going to play that. And I was ultimately pretty scared. We didn't see it. But I do want to try this deck out. As people know, I am a huge fan of Gleaming Lantern. I feel like this is a card that is primed and ready to get nerfed, and is probably due, or it will be getting nerfed as an additional Fae gets printed. And so this is a deck that I think, at least the origin of this, I don't know, I don't play with these people, I don't know them personally. I think the origin of this is, you realize how good the Faeries play pattern is, right? You spent some time playing Aphelios Fizz. You see how good the Faeries are, and you say, okay, I want to play Faeries twice. This deck annihilates the aggro decks of the format. It just absolutely crushes things like Pirates. And then on the flip side, it has an angle of attack against the quicksand-based decks, the Shurima decks, in that if you attach a rainbow fish to a unit, your opponent quicksands the unit, they hush the unit, it still keeps the elusive. And so the way that the kind of like meta came together over the past few weeks is the Sun Disk rose to prominence. People realized the way to beat the Sun Disk was with elusives or with overwhelms. The Sun Disk decks then started to include quicksand, and quicksand was the way to stop your opponent from just crushing you with the elusives. Now, the next step beyond that is there's a bunch of quicksands running around in these Sun Disk and Talia Ziggs and Viego Shurima decks. How do we get around that? And the answer to that is with the attaches. And so I feel like the way that this kind of came about, where people realized how good this stuff was in Aphelios Fizz, and then they just kind of said, well, let's play 2 Faeries decks, right? This only has one bad matchup, that's Pantheon. Let's just ban Pantheon and beat the shit out of everybody with the Rainbow Fish. And so I'm like, on the one hand, I'm kind of interested in iterating on this a little bit further. I'm curious about running this kind of attached theme. This is just playing the Bandle City half, right? We're not playing Targon, we're not playing Yuumi, we're not playing Papercraft Dragon, but we are playing the Bandle City half of this for the Rainbow Fish and the Fae Sprout, and that allows us to then branch out into another champion. And so the way that these people kind of figured it out is you're playing the core of the Faeries package, right? We're running the Fae Sprouts, we're running the Grandfather Faes, the Gleaming Lantern, and the Rainbow Fish is the real core. The Tasty Faefolk has been phenomenal in this deck, and that's what kind of like pieces out into the useful Ionia stuff, as to where if you say put a Rainbow Fish onto a Tasty Faefolk, that's a really challenging unit to take down or to race against in combat if your opponent's just gaining 6 and elusive every turn and then has the potential to block with this. And then we have some ways to come out and protect the boosted Faefolk, whether or not that is with the Nopify, the Deny, or the general kind of catch-all combat card in Twin Disciplines. And so that is kind of the Faeries angle to the deck. You're using the Gleaming Lantern to the max. Again, this is a full-on Gleaming Lantern build-around deck. But then the second half of this is like, well, what champions are we going to use? How are we going to take advantage of this? And these deck authors chose to use Tristana. In my test games, I haven't been super impressed with Tristana, but I get it. It gives us a way to just chunk in a bunch of damage with the go wide strategy. So if we get a completely full board of Faeries, being able to give them bonus attack with Tristana's abilities, give them all impact with the flip Tristana, pretty powerful and strong. And then if we get to the ultra late game and Tristana is like a 6 or a 7 or an 8 attack unit, that's a fantastic place to drop a Rainbow Fish. And so this is where I'm kind of skeptical. You know, I've kind of played around a bit with the deck, and I'm not really high on this Teemo Tristana thing, but I have such a love for this Gleaming Lantern that I really like to come out here and give it a go. And so this is what we'll be doing battle with today. I'm planning on kind of like iterating on this in the future, but I think it's important to kind of give credit where credit's due, do our due diligence with this, and see how we're really coming out here and feeling about it. And so that is the deck. You all know what we have to do if we want to win, though. We got to pay the pay-to-win price. And we're going to go with the Blast Cone Seedling today. There's a handful of not premium cards. That's what happens when you come out here and see Ionia in the deck. There's just not a much competitive landscape for Ionia. And so that just means we got a cheap price to pay. We got the single common that we can upgrade here in the Blast Cone Seedling. And we are ready to go. Getting in on the cheap. So let's see. Oh, there's FTP Bust. Check me out on the leaderboard. So let's see. Get that flying fish going out here. But yeah, this was a pretty interesting concept to me, especially in terms of things to bring to seasonals. You know, it's tough to say, hey, I want to bring 2 of the same lineup to this tournament, just because you can't play like overlapping factions. And so this was kind of an interesting way to get double Faeries decks into the event, and that you could just really mix up the champions and include that second faction out here. but not a great start for us. We're going to struggle a little bit here against the Trundlemere deck. We didn't get a big opener. It's actually kind of interesting in picking up the Twin Disciplines to protect our Teemo with, but we're looking for a little bit more aggression here. I wanted to be getting the spell-shielded Faeries on the board. They are the kind of key unit against the Trundlemere deck, and then it can dodge quite a bit of their AoE capabilities. Alright, we're going to Twin Disciplines out of this. Now, don't get in your head that we're a Teemo deck. We're not. Teemo is just a cheap elusive that is putting us into PNZ. He works with... He works well with Tristana since he's multi-faction, but we're most certainly not a Teemo deck here today. I think we have to just go ahead and attack, though, now. It just feels a little bit too slow dropping Bandle Commandos if he has another interactive card. And that could even just be like playing a dude. Alright, a little dangerous to start dropping these 2 health units at this point, but I think if we can cycle around to our next turn and then get to drop a Thousand Tail, we dodge all of their AoEs. So this is like our actual chance to boom here. He is going to be up at 8 mana, and so if his angle is to drop a Ithit Stairs, we're fucked. But I think, you know, we're to the point to where we just have to punch it, right? We can come in for 10, which would be nice, but I think, you know, this is just our kind of opportunity to come in and win the game. Right? See, Ithit Stairs still AoEs down our whole team. Yep. Okay. Fair enough. But I think where I'm kind of going with that is if we attack for 10 and then he plays Ithit Stairs, we still lose the game. But if he doesn't have it, say he just plays like a Trundle there, then we end up winning. And so I feel like that was a safer way to kind of go about that play. Let me pause this so I can get the deck tracker up. I didn't have it going there. Okay, I think that did it. Let's see. Booming us right from the get-go. The Trundlemere saying, no. You'll not be doing fairy stuff to me today. Okay. Talia Lysandra. I'm curious with Lysandra. I noticed amongst the spoiled stuff, there's a new Frozen Thrall card. And I'm curious if there'll be like Frozen Thrall stuff outside of Lysandra in the future or how that's going to go. But at least for here this today, with this hand, I'm fine to keep the 1 and the 2. The Rainbow Fish and the Thousand Tail Saiyan aren't that great here. We're always looking for the Gleaming Lantern, though. That's our big boy to slam on the board. Going to go with the Impact. Not too much they can do to shut down these early aggressions we have here. Got to start to worry about the Blighted Ravine now, though. We should be able to drop the Tasty Feyfolk and then punch. See if he just plays Lysandra here. Here's an avenue to switch. We can go over to the Grandfather Fey and put down the Feyfolk. I think that's fine. Well, none of those units combat well with Lysandra, though. We have the Twin Disciplines for next turn, but I ultimately worry about that angle. It's just a little dangerous. Right, if he's going to say, like, Lysandra block a Grandfather Fey and we play the Twin Disciplines, it doesn't seem awesome. Also worry a little bit about Quicksand. But this is still a pretty reasonable attack here. Getting all those Teemo booms in. Them puff caps are coming through. This gives up on Lysandra. I was like, this is going to be a Quicksand or something. Do we ultimately worry about her? We have, like, a couple of options here, right? We can just give up on the Feyfolk and punch in with Teemo. That feels like the most dangerous one. My ultimate worry here is if we make like the Twin Disciplines investment in the Feyfolk and then he just quicksands out of it, or he has a shitload of mana here. If he plays a Three Sisters into Flash Freeze, then we are just like so super far behind on this board. I'm leaning towards just going for the Teemo. I think this is okay. Get to punch in that point of damage, get the puff caps going. actually threaten that flip. Again, we're not like a Teemo build-around deck here, but this flip is a little bit threatening for our opponent. Got a Blighted Ravine? Nope. All right, he's ready to go. He's going to be booming here soon. No ravines in sight. All right, so let's start with the Sprout. See if we can pick up anything good here. Which one are you? Give me power equal to the number of allied Fae in play or attached. So it'll be pretty big Mushroom Ring if we go for you. I think that's where we want to go. Not interested in Quick Quill without the Lantern. The Blast Cone Signaling would be fine with the impact, but I think the big Mushroom is the way to take him down. This lets us punch in the most damage. Okay, so the Mushroom survives the Blighted Ravine. Many stats, many stats. And we can come in and like knock down this Lysandra, but it doesn't really feel like a game winner. We need to drop the Will of Ionia on our opponent's turn. I think we just got to drop our hand. Like, the way that this is unfortunate is if he drops that 4/6 now, the Drakmor thing, Drakmor Inquisitor. I think he's a 4/5. Either way, it's not ideal. He's up to some kind of shenanigan here. I'm not exactly sure what that shenanigan is, but he's up to something. He knows he's all in the clear at this point. Okay. Okay. The AoE decks are coming out in full force today. It's a little bit of a struggle for this. It's not the not the matchups this deck is looking to play against. As you could imagine with any go-wide strategy, running into Blighted Ravines is not not the standard path to victory. Okay, interesting set. With this, we're up against the this is a Rumble deck. This is a Rumble deck with Mites in it. They try and... He's playing Bilgewater. It's odd. Either way, should still just be like a really aggressive number coming at us. I'm going to hang on to the Fey Folk and the Grandfather Fey, and then look for some other cheaper plays. We definitely want to have access to a tasty Fey Folk this game, but this is pretty slow, right? I don't want to just get like a bunch of these stranded into our hand and then have them tempoed away. Our first adventure with the Gleaming Lantern. So good. Dodges the Blighted Ravines. It lets us cheat our dudes into play. so much usefulness all in one card. I was curious why he was just passing. That's a very odd opener for him. But this is fine. We probably should have just passed it back there. But let's see if we can't recover. I mean, it should still just be like a good enough matchup for us that it's not that big of a deal. Okay. So now we're to the let's build up our board stage of this. Very odd. He was just sending back to us again. I'm curious if he's just gonna like bring a rumble on us or what the deal is here. Mm-hmm. 2 Fallen Riders and then what was the last one? Pool Shark. Okay. So we'll get the Fey Folk down eventually. We can just take this rumble hit here and not worry about it too much. Let's just go ahead and Fey Folk in case we need to play Deny. I don't think it's going to happen, but we'll give ourselves the option. He didn't do anything too scary. Duty. And a pokey stick.
You best believe I don't play.
So it's a little bit of an unfortunate board for our tasty Faefolk. We don't have a rainbow fish for it. You can immediately see how disgusting rainbow fish can be on these boards when the Faefolk gets to boom that hard. But I think this is okay. And we did pick up an answer to Rumble in the Pokey Stick, so we can Pokey Stick plus Will of Ionia and send him back to hand. Curious if he just like ever blocks with the Rumble. I'm just going to take it slow here. I don't think we need to be in a hurry since we have the answer to him. Got great blocks against the Fearsomes. Everything here looks pretty good as soon as we get Rumble answered. I would think he's going to look to open, but Rash Gambler. Oh, snap. And he discards a Might with that. Interesting. He's going to get to draw 2 here. Okay, so we need the Will of Ionia on the stack. Then we want the Pokey Stick to the left of it. That'll pop the Spell Shield. Then in terms of blocks, this is a pretty easy one with the Owlfolk. I don't want to take the Brash Gambler damage here. But do we... I think we just give up the bird. It's our weakest unit out here. Okay. Now we can drop the lantern and follow up with the Thousand Tail. Seems good. Tristana's always interesting. She flips into Buster Shot. Like, in terms of next turn, though, we're going to have 10 mana. And so we can do the Thousand Tail plus deny if we bank this 2. Right? We're at 3, 6. No, we're 2 off from doing this, right? At 3, 6. Okay. So let's Buster Shot this Brash Gambler. Maybe we slow our roll a little bit. What's his angle here? Does he just have another copy of the list? We can pass. I mean... That was odd. Vandal Gunner Tristana. You big now, girl. All right, this looks like a good board. Let's do one of those attack things everybody's talking about. Okay, chance to take down Rumble's good. We have the Twin Disciplines to go for that. Then the rest of his blocks here are just pure trash. Pure trash, I tell you. Pure trash. And so it looks like his angle here is that he's looking to switch into going for a Riven Sword. That should have been his second fragment, to the best of my memory. And we have a deny, so I'm not ultimately worried about that. Excuse me, so we should be safe. I think we're looking good here. Probably going to want to Buster Shot this Brash Gambler given the chance. We don't need to do a lot with Tristana, but I would prefer to not let him draw 2. Oh god, nope. Oof, misclicked that one. All right, Fame Jam. I think we're happy with this board state. Oh, new rumbles. We can make Tristana a 5. That's not quite enough, but we have easy enough blocks on the rumble. It's not the most efficient to drop the Owlcat here, but if we're just gonna like lose our Tristana to rumble, then I don't want to drop the Rainbow Fish on her. What if we play Grandfather Fae? It at least gets a boost off of Tristana. Okay. I think that's fine. You fought valiantly, girl. As a might, only deals 6 damage, not a big deal. Alright, now our little fairies get to grow since we have the 2 grandfathers on the board. I'm going to overwrite the Bandle Commando, and then we'll get a Rainbow Fish down. Alright, ready for combat. This should do it. We have 6 from the Rainbow Fish and then 2 unblocked units. Not to mention we have a impact in there as well. Alright, GG. The battle is ours. The game has been won. Good job, Team Bust. Okay, did that deck tracker show up? I wasn't paying enough attention. I've got the thing on the board here. Here was the guy I think was the one that popularized this. I think he was sitting up here in the top 10. Maybe this isn't updated on the app. I thought, oh, Imtux, there he is. He's made his way up to rank 6, it looks. Good job, my dude. Are you up here playing it? See? He's the one playing the Teemo Tristanas. That was the guy I saw on the Mastering Runeterra. All right, against Easy Caitlyn. Not the greatest of places to be, but let's hang on to this early game start. We'll get rid of the Rainbow Fish and then look for the lanterns. It's just so explosive when you have the lantern, and then so trashy when you don't. But if we can't draw it, maybe we can manifest it.
I don't play. Armed and ready.
Okay. I was hoping to get the spell shielded bro. The spell shielded owls are such a good target for your attach units in these control matchups. It's a little nicer with the Aphelioses so that you can say, Jesus, 2 damage already, so that you can drop a attach on the spell shield and then still put Aphelios things on it, but can't do that in this version since we're not playing Aphelios. Interesting, he slammed the Caitlyn into our barriered unit. Now we have a lantern. Probably Face Sprout. Like, I'm fine to trade most of this stuff into Caitlyn. Well, it's gotten a little worse, but I still want to cheat as much as we can here. The Fae Folk's not so great in this matchup. I'm going to go with the Telescope. It's actually still a pretty good attacker here. It's really tempting to pick up this Shark Trainer. This game's going to go on for a while, and the Charger's pretty non-interesting. Now, the thing with Scarmother Virna, she is quite strong against people playing Flashbang Traps, right? If they Flashbang Trap onto Virna, she can come in for the damage, but I think we're just stuck with the Shark Trainer.
Never know what hit 'em.
I'll go ahead and attack with the Seedling. He gets the good block with this 1/1, but we're not going to do anything with it otherwise. Sure. All right. Rough beat, Gleaming Lantern. Jeez. So what do we got? The Assistant Librarian's always good. We don't have like a bunch of targets for it though. We only have the Twin Disciplines out of this deck. It may get blocked. It may not get blocked next turn, but it is a great target for the Rainbow Fish. I think it's where we want to go. We could go for Swole Squirrel just because it's the biggest one, but I think we have the most upside out of the Librarian. Let's sprout again just to see what comes up. Another Telescope. All right.
Got the book. Let's start our search.
It's nice dropping these and still being able to play a Pokey Stick here. There shouldn't be too many targets for Pokey Stick, but we have a couple of options. It's an aggressive Archivist with only 2 mana behind.
The same calling card from our
I guess if you're looking for like... He's already played 1 Mystic Shot. I guess you can hit a Beam as well to take down the Lantern. Okay. What you got, Telescope? Des and Addo. What's this thing even do? When I'm summoned, create a darkness in hand. If you don't have one, sure, your next darkness this round deals it to everything. So it's the 2 damage AoE. It's going to be too slow. Just take the Tenor of Terror. He's ready to boom. Also works out nicely with Tristana should she turn up. It feels so much safer if we had a Nopify or something here, but just going for it. Okay. Well, that's at least safe for this turn. Get the draw off of it.
Don't think I know that one.
Pokey Stick, damn. There's a limited number of cards we could actually hit with this. I was really hoping to pick up a Nopify, or even Twin Disciplines would have been better than Pokey Stick. All right, it's time for the big boys, though. Shark Trainer ready to come out here and do his thing. Say what up to the big dude. Okay. It's not a. He has to worry a little bit now, and that if he kills off the dude, the Rainbow Fish goes back to our hand. It's a pretty slow play in terms of. Without the Lantern, it's a pretty slow play to get him back on board, but we got some options with this thing. And a Tristana. I think I'm pretty interested in this. We can play Tristana, we can play the Tenor of Terror, and then we can Will of Ionia if we want, or we can just spend the mana to put the Shark on the board, but pretty big. Everybody gets some impact. Kind of fucked up. Okay, don't think this is the place for a Will of Ionia anymore.
A missing piece?
Get him for 6. Okay. Not bad. He's down to 2 cards in hand, so we can't really like turbocharge this Ezreal. Thousand Tilt Saiyan. Okay. He's ready to go all Dragon Ball Z on him. He ain't scared. Ugh. Sucks getting these points of damage attached. Okay, it's down to 1 card. One card. Let's make it a little bit more challenging to kill our Tristana. Alright. He's just going to replay Ezreal, so we're not going to like lethal with Tristana this turn, but we're getting scary. 9 damage Tri-Beam. What's that get? Like, not Captain Farron, but the Ladros? Cadrigen. Alright. Well, we still at least have the mana to play the Saiyan and the Rainbow Fish, and he has to block with Ezreal. Don't have the mana for everything, though. I think that's okay. Getting a point of damage is kind of brutal. But he's only got the 1 card in hand. We can't spend all day worrying about that. Blocks with Ezreal, sure. And then I feel like decent going into the next turn. We have a lot of stuff going on in our hand. We can kill Cadrigen. We have Deny. I think we should feel reasonably safe here. Want a Pokey Stick in combat so he doesn't get the Fury. Okay, okay. Then I'm not going to drop below 4 mana here. A lot of times you would just want to let this happen. You just let the Deny go. But I think since we have the second one in hand, it's okay to just go ahead and stop that one before it happens. What? Didn't hit Teemo, take a puff cap damage. Okay. Okay. Okay, we're good. GG. Whew. Alright. Non-damage coming at us. Non-damage Tri-Beam. No thank you, my dude. No thank you. Such a difference maker, though, having that lantern. Man. Okay. Katarina coming at us. What do we got here? We want to hang on to the Teemo. The Seedling's fine. Then again, we got to dig for some lanterns. I wouldn't be opposed to picking up a counter spell either, given that he's playing the kind of all-in sword deck. Didn't find one, but that's okay. Will of Ionia is pretty cool as well. Another answer to the sword. It doesn't work if it's going on to Fizz, but some reasonable power coming out. Pick up the impact just for extra damage. I mean, if he wants to trade away the Fizz, he's going to get to kill something with it. It's not super important what that something is. The lantern. He got one. It must feel good. Must feel good. Maybe this guy was a little aggressive here, and we should have just played the Face Sprout. Because getting shut down for this 2-mana do-nothing is pretty painful. Oh boy. Oh boy. So many cheats on the mana. Here's a lantern for us. As a bit of a savior, but I'm still not happy with how this has gone. Again, the thing I think will happen with Lantern one day is it's going to say... the way it works now is it's each round the first Fae that you see. And so it's... I think they'll eventually edit this to where you play it, and then that counts as seeing the Fae, and so you don't get to use the ability until the next turn. That's at least how I think it's going to go. Papercraft of our own. Not ultra worried about his Fizz. We can block it with Teemo. I'm just gonna bank up the 2. I mean, I guess we could have gone for our own Teemo, like Teemo with the Papercraft. We have the mana to protect on it. I mean, that is a second like double a double
Nothing like the
puff cap hit. Okay, so we can protect with Nopify, but we can't stop. There's, I think the only thing he would have to stop this Teemo would be like a Wallop. So if we trade Teemo for the Gleaming Lantern, I think this is okay. This gets his Dum Dum off the board.
Yordles and their portals. Don't like that.
Okay, we are counting like pretty heavily on this Will of Ionia to work now, though. I believe in it, though. It's gonna be fine. No worries, anyone. Okay. So he comes in with the fish. We don't have an elusive, so we're gonna have to send. It's at least like a safer target for Will of Ionia. We can take 8 from Fizz and not worry about it too much. He's nowhere near flipping. I think the Fae is fine. You can look to get the Owlcat with the Papercraft on it. It's going to be a few turns from now. It's like we're a little bit slow in this setup. Is he good? Here's what his angle is here out of these factions. No, there shouldn't be anything that answers the Will of Ionia.
If I were a magician,
Okay.
where would I go?
I think this is okay. We get to just drop the Thousand Tail on the board with these guys, and so we get a big attack following up with this. And then next turn shouldn't be getting lethaled. We have a few options to go through. I don't know. This mirror match is like, or this matchup is certainly not not one of my strong suits, and so I feel like we haven't executed this perfectly. And now the Midnight Raid onto Fizz is a problem. We don't have any way to stop it. Kind of sucks. We can't just like force him in here though. We can attack with everything though, right? He only gets one good block with the Librarian. You can put like the 4-3 on the 2-3 or something, but this is clearing out a lot of this board feels important. Okay. He's going to Midnight Raid Fizz and hit us for 8. And then open kill us. Yeah. We didn't tackle this one too well. Sting going for the Librarian.
Let's see what her notes say.
Guess he gets to pick up the spell this way, but interesting. Okay, we're dead. So yeah, that was not masterfully executed. I haven't played a ton of these mirror matches, whether or not that be with the Aphelios Fae version or this one here. But It seems like I'm curious how that plays out the majority of the time. Like the ultimate like big stinger that happened there was him having the two lanterns to our single one and us having to kind of search for the single one. You get just like such a gigantic mana boost when you're able to pull that off. It's tough to work around. I think we get rid of everything here. I don't. The Grandfather Fae against Action Udyr is not going to be a great start. That's more like it. That's more like it, they say. Kai Reaper. I'm not familiar with it. Oh, it's Action Ash, not Action Udyr. Still not familiar with this Reaper tech in here. I guess he's gonna be playing big fearsomes and then using the frostbites to get his fearsomes into combat. I think it's okay. I think we just want to bank the mana off of this turn. We'll have to see what unit he adds. But I mean, we can play the Blast Code Seedling with Barrier, but that leaves us going into next turn without being able to cheat anything with our Gleaming Lantern. Let's just take 3, it's not a big deal. So I want to cheat as much as I can, game. just let me get these cheats happening. I think we want to go with the barrier here. I'm not super interested in letting him just grow the Bakai Reaper at will.
Armed and ready.
Okay, we should have enough protection for the Gleaming Lantern coming out of this. But I don't think he's going to want to like really get too involved in this combat anyways. Like, I wouldn't be surprised to see a Troll Chant happen to where they like cancel Teemo and then grow action and block the barriered unit or something. But I don't think our opponent ever wins the combat here. Like, there's like Quicksands, there's Troll Chants, Brittle Steel, sure. Like, these aren't things that are going to win the combat. These are just things that are going to not lose the combat. Ready to cheat again. Let's get another Face Sprout going. I'm leaning towards the Telescope out of this. Like, it is kind of tempting though to just send Ash right back to his hand. So we just like don't even let him attack with Ash and Will of Ionia her back, and then we can follow up with something else. It's like the Quick Quill's not that bad. If we put the Quick Quill onto our 2/2, that's pretty decent. But like our hand could go for some value. I think I'm going to take the Telescope. We can still get him on the board this turn. Right now, his attacks look like doo-doo butter. we can follow up with the Telescope. I think this is strong. It's interesting he comes in with action, but doesn't come in with the Reaper. Like, I'll just take the damage. It's not that big of a deal. But if we like stop and think about like, okay, he's attacking with action because of Shaped Stone, and then the Shaped Stone, win that combat. But like, if that's his idea, right? He attacks with action because he's bluffing Shaped Stone, so we won't block with the Gleaming Lantern. Like, why don't you attack with the Reaper? Right, because then if we start to level into this and say, okay, well, I'm going to block the Reaper with the Lantern because you have that thing for action, then he can still get the trade onto the Lantern. And so I think that this was probably a safe block onto action with the Lantern, but it is ultimately, at the end of the day, it doesn't feel super worth it. So we'll hold back on that. Not a great collection of cards there. We're not going to get to turn 8 to play a Mirror Mage, and so the minions probably are our only reasonable option. Can threaten a big Teemo boom next turn. Okie dokie. What do we got? Rainbow Fish. I'm interested. Gonna put it on our lantern. This is like our least interactable unit. And so if he like plays Ash and gets a frostbite onto the lantern, that's the unit I want to block with the least. Oh, he gives neg attack. I was like, we can go for a puff cap play here. This is fine. We'll let that one happen and then just follow up with the other Teemo.
Another day in the field.
Action's about to flip. Little scary, not big scary. We just have to keep that in mind. Probably don't want to attack with the seedling here. Down to 2 mana.
Never know what hit 'em.
Okay.
Stay back. I'll protect the villages. Oh, come now.
He is gonna take that. What? That was like the weirdest block ever when he just puts action out in front. Like, you must have a flash freeze or a frostbite or something. Yeah. Do we ever want to go for these puff caps here? I mean, we can plus attack our Teemo to come in with puff caps. I was like kind of intent on keeping the Twin Disciplines in hand as a blocker for Ash, and I think that's where we need to be. She's gonna be flipped. He's seen the 4 units go to 0 power, and so I want to have the Crystal Arrow blocker should we need it. Goes plus attack. Interesting. He's going to be all in next turn. More Teemo, just what we needed. That's interesting in that it's another way, right? He plays the Crystal Arrow, frostbites our whole team, and then we grow the Teemo after the fact. I'm pretty sure that works.
My arrow?
Pretty sure.
Not.
Let's see what happens here. Hey, there's a world where he just like attacks and we can still do stuff, right? He attacks, it pops the Gleaming Lantern. Then we can just block with our dudes at that point. We're trying to see if he plays the Crystal Arrow on us. Thinking on it real hard. I mean, the good thing for us is he only has 14 damage on board, right? We're at 15. He can't lethal us right now. Getting close, though. Interesting. Is he gonna save it for our turn? Oh, he just didn't even have it in his hand. That's the way the game works, huh? That's the way the game works, apparently. Did just pick up Nopify for the Crystal Arrow, though.
The time is right. Strike now.
Going for it. Get them booms in, Teemo. Get them booms in. All right. Maximum puff cap. Time for Sir Pooh Bear to start squeezing them butt cheeks. Because them combats are happening. All right. Seems okay. Tasty Faithful. Great addition. Oh, shit. This guy's problematic, though.
I taste purple. Yay.
The time is right. Strike now. Show me a target.
Interesting. So, I mean... oh, man. Oh, that Wrath of the Freylord just aces us, right? We can't... We just can't block whatsoever. We can boost the Seedling, but I think this is still just going to be short on damage. Right, Ash is the biggest source, coming in for 18. Damn, I think we could have won that without the Wrath of the Freylord. That was a painful win, though. Didn't quite have the tools to close that out earlier. I guess we could have been a little bit more aggressive with that Teemo, but he is asking for quite a bit in terms of getting that damage in. But I think a lot of that game comes down to that action turn, though. When he attacked with action, and I still kind of feel like we could have blocked. I thought that was an interesting space. That's the kind of space that gets you to the next level, right? When you are able to kind of deduce what's happening there. That's what separates the people at the bottom of the masters tier like we are from the people that are up at the top. It's not even a matter of just like avoiding the misplays. It's like being able to read into the game and understand things on that level. That's beyond me. I'm completely okay with that. I understand where my space is in the land of competitive card gaming, and it's not up there at the top. I'm completely fine with that. But that is one of those things that separates the men from the boys, if you will.
Wondrous discoveries await below.
Okay, so Conchologist coming at us. I think we just drop a barriered seedling. I'm not looking to get too involved with this board, but I don't think we're in a space to where we can just pass. Swain Nar. What is this, April 2022? But that is kind of an interesting concept. Like the things that I'm particularly good at are like if I want to be good at the game, if I want to be really competitive, I have to just play the same deck for like 300 and 400 games, and it's tough to do because I really need like the format to stay similar, and it was reasonable to do with Magic, in terms of the new cards were only released every 3 months, and so formats like Modern didn't change that much. Standard would change a little bit, but like the kind of like big broad scale changes typically just happened once a year with the big rotations, and so it was like pretty realistic for me to do that with Magic. But with something like Runeterra, it's tough. From where like we played Expedition for the first 2 years of the game, I don't just have like the intimate knowledge of playing the Pirates matchup, right? Pirates hasn't really changed since the Bilgewater set was released, and so I'm not, I don't just have like all those reps in from the decks that are still similar, and then with the meta changing so frequently, it's also tough for me to just get that like broad strokes number of games in that I need to really feel comfortable with the format.
We made it. Yay. But our stuff did it.
All right, well, that's a decent aloof travelers for us. We don't have shit going on here. This is a pretty awkward hand. And it's like, at the end of the day, are we really just putting a rainbow fish onto this dude? That seems horrible. I guess we can. Seems better than like playing Teemo and passing. Like if we get him into combat and he dies, the rainbow fish comes back and we can use it later. It's a really awkward hand that we picked up here. But that was one of like the nice things with Expedition. I feel like in terms of drafting, that is like a skill that I am exceptionally good at. And so when it came to playing against like a lot of the ladder grinders, I could hold my own because there was a pretty good chance that my draft deck was going to be better than their draft deck. But in terms of technical skill, far and away, tons of people just better than me. Here, I think I'm actually like wanting to go with the Swole Squirrel. We're not going to play it this turn, but like, let's be real. The dude has a million cards in his hand, and we're never going to outvalue this guy. Like, we could look to go and pick up an expensive multi-region follower out of the Loping Telescope. Maybe that's what we just have to hope for. It's like, it's such a brutal space, right? Because going tall with the Swole Squirrel just puts us at like such a risk of just having it getting stunned over and over again. I'm gonna take the Terror of the Tots, though. you can put in some work, I guess. Quicken. Mouth noises. No, not letting that happen. We can't let, like, we just can't fall behind in the tempo like that. It's puts us too far behind. So he's gonna be attacking here. We're never gonna like fully get away from the pokey stick flip this turn, but we can see how it goes. We'll send the Gnar back. This guy, does he deal 1 damage to everything? No, he's the one that deals it to the Nexus. So we can play Teemo. Now he can either... Oh, he doesn't have the pokey stick. That's right, the Gnar didn't strike. That's positive. Do we open? Like, what's he even realistically going to do? Just, like, replay Gnar? I ain't scared of that. Let's get some dudes on board. Let's get some 4-power Outcats happening out here. So I'm going to attack with everybody except the 2-2. We're still threatening trades on everything else. Oh, cool. Teemo's not here to do a lot this game. Can we, like, even hit with any of these ground units, though? Probably not. We can actually, like, realistically attack with Terror of the Tides on our next attack. If we play the Terror and open and get in some additional damages that way, but it's only going to be for 6. It turns out we don't have any other sea monsters on our board. And so it's a bit of a struggle there. I'm leaning on towards like blocking and then just pokey sticking Teemo. Can we ever make a play like that? Or we could just block with our Grandfather Fae to pick up the Rainbow Fish and then put the Rainbow Fish on our Hungry Owlcat. Maybe that's the way to take this one. It does let him get a Gnar going, but it's awful expensive, though. All right. You fought valiantly, Teemo. We're saying here, your time has come. All right, we're ready to boom next turn. Not the way I anticipated getting the booms in, but it's the way we found them, the way we got them. So our new question is: are we going to open this next turn, or are we going to play the Saiyan? And it's awkward, right? We can drop the Saiyan and grow everything, but then how bad is it if he stuns our Terror of the Tides? Maybe he just found a silence. If he found a silence, then that changes everything. But that's another way this could go poorly. Well, Eloping telescoped into the messenger, right? Here's his flip. He got the damage to face. That's fine. It just feels like, there's like so many options for him to shut down our attack. At least maybe we can get something happening with a boosted Teemo. Like if he wants to play a stun on one of our units here, then we can still get the slightly boosted Teemo coming into combat. Come in for about 6 damage of elusives. Interesting. I think we're much happier to see him pop Tristana than we would be the Terror of the Tides. Okay. So this would make the Pterodactyl a 4 attack, the Gnar a 3 attack. They are both still pretty good in the face of our units, but makes all of his other ones shitty. We got a combat trick in hand. I think this is okay. Like he's got to put Gnar in front of the Terror of the Tides unless he has like a Wallop in hand. There's the Wallop. He's all intent on hurting our poor Teemo. Seems alright. Not sure why he facepalmed there. I'm not sure what he missed. But this seems like a pretty good combat for us. Get to kill Gnar, we kill his pterodactyl. We don't lose. We only lose the one unit in combat, and then we have the Super Saiyan next turn to refill our hand. Seems fine. Brother has an additional Gnar. That kind of sucks, but this turned out okay. It's got to be attacking with the Leviathan, right? Okay. So, slightly awkward here. I would like to get this Tristana going, but we can't play like Tristana and everything. I guess the Swain's not flipped at this point. Okay, let's fill out the board. We can just end up overriding something here if we need to. Swain will be flipped at this point. Forgot the Leviathan damage coming in. This is dangerous, but I mean, we're pretty far behind. He's got another Swain in hand. He didn't play the Swain that we've already seen. Oh, I thought Swain flipped into Death's Hand. Guess that's not the case. Like Tristana's just not doing anything, right? I mean, she's wow, he just no plays. I don't think the +1/+1 from the Super Saiyan's relevant, but I kind of want to pick up those stats. All right. Potential deny for next turn, but here comes the stun. Something's gonna go poorly here. Can't imagine we're punching through any damage this turn. There's got to be something he has, a wallop or whatever. Some kind of damage to face. It is odd seeing him block Tristana. Oh, Swain stuns back row enemies. I'm not used to Swain being on the board. Not something we play against a ton. Okay. I mean, that seemed like a pretty positive turn. Got to find a way to squeak in this last 3 damage. I believe in it. I believe in us. We can like fill out our board here. That's not unreasonable to do. How much is he coming in for? 14? So he'll kill us next turn with the Leviathan. Okay. Alright. Alright. GG. All right, one more. We'll be in our final battle. Man, I almost forgot for story time. I've been talking about my cat litter problem, right? I in this like small confined space I'm in where I record and do stuff. This is where we kept the litter box, and I'm pretty sure like the litter dust was just like fucking with my lungs. Like I did smoke for like a decade or so, and so they're probably not in good shape to begin with. But I'm pretty sure. I like it was just like congesting me or something, and so the place that we have the litter box now is just like right in front of the front door. So you walk into the house, you say, "Cool, there's just a shit box right here, excellent." And so the solution is that we want to get the litter box into the basement, but the way our house works is one of those deals to where you have to like walk out into the garage, and then to get into the basement, you have to come in. Through the garage path, and so I'm not like just leaving those doors open and letting the cats like come in there through the garage. That sounds like a way to get a cat out in the street or dead or in a car or something. And so the solution is we can go through the wall and put in like one of those outdoor cat flaps so that the cats can go through the wall and into the basement. And today I did it. Today I installed the thing. If you're interested in something like this on your own, you can get these like telescoping cat flaps, and that was how we went about went about it. There was like a 6-inch gap or between the two walls. So you just had to cut out a hole in the drywall, cut out a hole in the. This house was built in the 60s, so there's wood paneling everywhere. You had to cut out the wood paneling, and then that was that. We did it. And so now I have to find the new solution. The space in the basement between, like, every house in the Midwest is a split level, and so there's like the basement down here, the garage here, the main floor here, and then the bedrooms on the fourth floor, if you will. It's not we aren't rich by any means. It's not a fourth floor style house, but that's just the way the levels work. And so if you're standing in the basement, the bottom of the kitty flap is around my chin. Like, I'm a little over 6 foot tall, and so there's quite a bit of space there. And I was planning on just building stairs, but I'm not entirely sure that that's going to be the final way we go about it. Here, back to the game. Sorry, with the cats. Like, old man Bust was excited about the work he did today, and so. Wow, he just plays Yumi. And so I had to talk about it a little bit. Also get to fire up my grill today, so I'm doing like full old man shit is happening. Getting the cat doors installed, getting the grill going tonight. It's fucking great. Fucking great. Alright, it's always odd to see people just like throw down Yumi. But I wonder if he just like has no other units in his hand. And this is the way life has forced him to be. Okay, we'll let this continue to grow. We'll save our Nopify for another turn. I just want to get down more dudes now. So we'll take the 4, bring it. We'll save the Nopify for like another single combat or for a cataclysm. Otherwise, we're just going to try and get the dudes going. Not a real interesting set of bros. I think we just want the stats in the Grumble Slug. We are about to run out of cards, though. Fine. The Grumble Slug would have boosted up the Tristana a little bit, but it seems like we're going to run out of cards really quick here. Buster Shot. Alright, so let's see what happens. Looks like he's saving up his manas. I'm about to bring the squad at you, bro. About to bring the squad. It's a little dangerous sending the Tristana in. I'm kind of like envisioning we get like a follow-up Buster Shot onto Yumi, and here we're able to pokey stick down Pantheon. That's the idea with this play. Let's just stop right here, because he's going to respond with something. He's going to play another combat trick or something in here, and I want to know where we're bringing it. And here's the Nopify for the single combat. Okay. So we ace his Pantheon. He does take down our Lantern in the process, which kind of sucks, but I think it's a reasonable price to pay. Of course, we just draw another one. I don't think this is the time and the place for the Lantern. I think we need to draw the Saiyan and play the Saiyan and then just pick up some more stuff to do for the next turn. If we had another Lantern or another Fae, then I could see the argument for playing the Lantern, but it just feels a little too dangerous here. Now this, I think we can safely take. If it's like, if he's coming at us with like a Cataclysm, maybe we do need to just like throw the damage down here. Or prevent the damage. I don't know. Maybe I'm just like a little too worried about some of the plays I ran into in seasonals with getting blown out by cataclysms and stuff. But I think we can just get wider than him and punch in for lethal. Also, we got double phase sprout, so there's a world where we just pick up rainbow fish. Okay, a little scary,
Good thing you guys have 9 lives, right?
None of those are too compelling. The way I'm kind of looking at this now is like, I think Quick Quill is the safe one to take. Maybe we take the mushroom. Like if we play the mushroom for 1, the other Fae down here at the bottom for 2, then we can still twin disciplines or we can buster shot. And then both of these are multi-factions, so we'll get some bonuses off of Tristana. Going for the damages. Give you an impact. Have to worry here if he has like a golden Aegis. That's kind of shitty. And we also have to worry, this Pantheon picked up lifesteal, but at least he doesn't have a shitload of attack. Vandal Gunner Tristana. Alright, well, we got some big booms down here. My confidence level in this is low. This feels like one of these spots to where, you know, your person that's not familiar with the game is like hanging out behind you and he says, hey, this one's in the bag, isn't it? Look at this shit that you're doing. This guy's done. And then you're just, you just know, like, oh God, it's going to be like a single combat and a concerted strike and we are about to get fucked. Here it comes. Here it comes. It ain't my first rodeo. All right, the concerted strike. It says we're still coming in. Oh, we're coming in for 3 now. Okay. So we can still just take down Yuumi. He has the space to play 1 more card. Oh, boy. Okay. Is he going to have the Pale Cascade as well? Alright, doesn't have that, so we at least got the Yuumi dealt with. And this isn't like an absurd level Pantheon, right? So we're definitely still in the game. But I knew... This isn't my first rodeo against Pantheon. I know that dumb shit that they do. Can we play the Saiyan? I think we just need some dudes to put on board. It's unfortunate to miss out on these effects, but it's gotta have a dude. All right, we don't have the mana for deny this turn. So this might be overly aggressive, dropping the Seedling without... well, Pantheon's got Elusive, right? We're just not blocking him anyways. So if he has a golden Aegis, there wouldn't be anything we could do about it. Now he has, like, say, a golden Aegis onto the White Flame, which is whatever. Okay. See if we can't pick up a Will of Ionia at some point. That would be a nice addition to the squad. Just send Pantheon back in the middle of combat. Rocked, roaded, ready to rocket. Camp Fort. Give us that animation. I forgot about that. Rainbow fish? Yeah. We want the seedling here. This is another multi-factioner for Tristana. Impact. I don't think we have a lethal here, but I mean, we don't have options anymore. We got to bring the squad in. Only getting in for 8. Yeah, that's so abysmal. Oh, that sucks so much.
Remember this.
So much suck. Take down Camp 4. This is a easy enough unit to hit. This Twin Discipline's nowhere near lethal, so we'll try. We'll try. Then this Pantheon needs to do some work, though, right? He's got some distance to go before he can lethal us, and so he needs a rally or something to try and punch in a second one. And we do have the deny to try and stop it, so we're gonna have to try and stop another full 20-piece nugget here, but we can try. We can try. No blocks, dude. Let's cycle first and see what happens. I figure we're just going to be playing 2 Feyfolk this turn, but let's take the old lookaroo. Ooh, there it is. There it is. Might be too little too late, but no. No. Man, I wish we were in the space to where we could, like, where we could send away Pantheon and he couldn't block. But God, we're not even, we're not anywhere near lethal with this. We need a rainbow fish. It's like we're just slowly grinding him down with this Tristana. That's all we can do. It says we're coming in for 34. He's gonna get a block on something. I mean, could we? Was that too aggressive? Like, could we have just got more impacts by playing the Grandfather Fae?
Remember this.
It's like I see the. What are we coming in here for? Like 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. We're 1 short. Yeah, I was gonna say if we bounce the Pantheon, he's getting that little bit of lifesteal out of this. Okay. Maybe this was like an underthought. I'm curious if we couldn't have gotten around this with the impacts, right? If we play the Grandfather Fae, it's a multi-faction, so we get some impact, and then the Tristana gets some more impacts as well. We've been top decking like a fucking champ here, so I think we might be okay in those terms. But you see, like Tristana gets the impact, this Fae gets the impact. We could have overwritten like the Messenger, and we could have overwritten. What's his name? We could have overwritten the Saiyan, and I think that might have gotten us enough impact to end the game. So it's like now we're back in this dumb spot to where he gets to lifesteal through everything. That was kind of our saving grace on the previous turn, is stopping this 10 points of lifesteal when Pantheon comes down. So this is like another space to where I feel like if we had some more experience, we might have been able to close out this game. But ooh, he doesn't have lifesteal anymore. He picked up all those abilities and no lifesteal. Cool. Cool. All right, all right. And so that was kind of like interesting stuff there, right? I feel like this deck, it's tough. There's a lot of decks that I'm just like, I can't just like pick up and play. Like that's not what I did today. I played like 10 games or so before we started making the video. But the play patterns in this aren't like super intuitive until you've played a bunch of games, and so it's tough for me to like really discern if this deck is good or what the deal is there. Now, again, I have a couple of feelings on this. Again, I don't know the people that popularized this. I have a feeling this deck came about through the power of the Gleaming Lantern and the Rainbow Fish. This just like 3-card combo of Face Sprout, Gleaming Lantern, Rainbow Fish is extremely powerful, and I kind of have like the inkling that the way this came about, where people played the Aphelios Fizz deck, they said that this is the best deck in the format right now. And I would really love it if I could play 2 copies of this deck in seasonals. And so you can't do that because of the game rules. You can't play 2 of the same faction and then just change your champions. But if you're playing Bandle City, you have a lot of options, right? Bandle City has so much reach into the other factions just because of the way the thing works. It really honestly wouldn't surprise me if somebody said, okay, I want to play this kind of core package of Faeries. Now I just need another way to make it work with the champions. And if I can't play Targon, that's okay. What's my next angle here? And I feel like that's how they landed on it. And so do I think that this is like a great ladder deck? I'm not entirely certain. The other thing I worry about with this is, you go and look at the ladder rankings, and I don't know if the P-Tux guy was the one that really popularized it. I know he was the one that won the Mastering Runeterra tournament, and he was sitting in the top 10 of the ladder. You have to watch out for people like that because they're just better than everybody else. And so I talked about this a little bit in terms of Mage and Bay popularizing the Echo Zillion deck. That deck is pure garbage. It's still bad. There are some nightmare matchups that it presents, but that deck isn't very good, and Bay is good. And so there's like, you have to always kind of take some of these results with a grain of salt. And is this deck actually good, or is this just an exceptional player beating up on lesser players? I don't want to call anyone in Masters. I don't even want to call any of my viewers lesser players, but there's certainly a hierarchy of the level of skill. And I can say without a doubt, with 100% certainty, both Mage and Bay and the P-Tux guy are just way better at the game than me. And so are they able to take decks that are less than optimal and then have good success with it? Absolutely. And so that's what I'm kind of like questionable. And with this like actual iteration of this deck, there's the 2 separate pieces to it, right? There's the piece at, is this just a seasonals deck that wants to play double Fairies, right? Is this deck ever better than Aphelios Fizz? My initial impression is just probably not. And then the second piece of it is, are these people that are just exceptionally good popularizing something? And I think that there's a piece to it of that as well. And so if you like the idea of what's happening here, then by all means, go out and play it. Again, this isn't like the end-all, be-all gameplay video for you to learn from, because this is most certainly not the style of deck that I'm commonly playing. There's a lot of angles to this I don't quite get. There's a lot of play patterns that are something I'm not familiar with, but I think it should give you a good taste of what's going on out here and what's happening with this. And if you see Teemo Tristana pop up, you should know what's happening. You should have the kind of general ideas of this being a Gleaming Lantern deck. You should know that they're going to try and Rainbow Fish through your Hushes and through your Quicksands. And this should at least give you a good primer on what's coming at you, or what you're about to bring to the party. And so I hope you enjoyed it. It has me kind of like thinking and brainstorming a little bit. I just love Gleaming Lantern so much. Again, like I feel like this is a card that is definitely on the nerf radar. And I love trying to come up with ways to take advantage of it. And so like just seeing these people like angle on this further, right? The way that like some of this stuff kind of came together was like at the beginning of the format, people were kind of like tooling around with Papercraft Dragon, and that was like, well, let's put Papercraft Dragon on an Overwhelm, and then that kind of branched out into people being like, let's try this Fae thing. That's a set of abilities, and you really get to like the feeling that like, oh wow, the Gleaming Lantern is really powerful. So what if we just play the Gleaming Lantern along with some of this attached stuff? Maybe that's interesting, and then the kind of next step beyond that was, well, I'm playing this Gleaming Lantern deck and I have this Papercraft Dragon on the board. I would really love to give it Overwhelm, but I don't want to have to play the Overwhelm cards. I don't want to have to play Might. I don't want to have to play a I don't want to have to play a Zenith Blade, but it turns out Aphelios is here, and Aphelios really helps power through this. And so you can kind of like see the progressions happen from there. And now that it's like I'm kind of looking at this one, it's like I start to brainstorm and think it's like, well, if this like Fae package is really working, like what other champion combos could this work with? Can we take advantage of the elusives anyways? Can we can't count on Papercraft Dragons because we can only get it from the Fae Sprout here, but does this come up with an additional way that we could take advantage of either the Lantern or take advantage of the Rainbow Fish? Champion-wise, it's like I start to always just think of how do I put this in an aggro deck. And so we'll see. I'll have to let this one kind of marinate in my brain piece for a little bit and see if I can't come up with anything over the next couple of weeks because I'm really kind of interested in what's happening here. But nonetheless, that is it. That is going to do it for us today. I hope everyone enjoyed the video. You learned how to fish with Teemo a little bit better. You maybe learned a thing or two along the way and had a good time watching. This is Bust, and we thank you for being here.